Welcome to fourth grade history. We are in lesson 137. This is pages 200 to 202, but you're going to stop reading at the people worth knowing more about. We'll have that in our lesson on the next lesson, lesson 138. Okay, we are going to be looking at the Panama Canal. Yesterday, the last lesson, we were looking at the results of the Spanish-American War and the war itself. Who were the group of American soldiers led by Theodore Roosevelt? Those were the Rough Riders. And what was the battle that they fought? They won the most important battle of the Spanish-American War. What was that battle? The Battle of San Juan Hill. Okay, going back a little bit further, who owned Alaska before the United States bought it? What country? Russia. And what was the name of Alaska before we changed it? Russian America. Okay. Who discovered Hawaii? It was Captain James Cook. And when did the territories of Alaska and Hawaii enter the Union as states? They both entered in the same year, but different months. 1959. Okay. All right. What was the ship that was sunk in the Spanish-American War that nobody knows who sunk it? It was the Maine. Remember, the Maine was their call, their cry afterwards. All right. And then I'm just going to tell you, just recap, the Philippines, Guam, and Puerto Rico became possessions of the U.S. after the Spanish-American War. All right, so we're going to be looking at the Panama Canal today and the Isthmus of Panama. And so I have this map up here, and Panama is this little red or pink-ish country down here. It's kind of hard to see on yours. I wonder if I can move you closer. Okay. You see this one right here, okay? So the isthmus is this area on there. And so I'm going to put this magnet right there. So imagine right there, there's this land that separates the Atlantic Ocean from the Pacific Ocean, okay? I'm going to put you back over here, okay? And right there where the magnet is where this Isthmus of Panama, it's much bigger than the magnet, of course, but it's this land that is 30 miles. This thin strip of land is about 480 miles long and from 30 to 120 miles wide. And so this was a piece of land that many people were saying we should have. It would be great if we could build a canal through here. And a canal is a man-made waterway. And so there had been talk for years. The French tried to build it in 1878, but they ran into problems, and so they had to stop. And over the next several years, there were more reasons to have it built. So, during a war, the Spanish-American War, there was a ship that had been a U.S. battleship that was sent from California to sail to Cuba, and it had to sail from California back here all the way down around South America and come back up because it couldn't go through this little spot. It took 68 days for it to sail from California to Cuba. It would have taken more than half of that time off to sail through Panama Canal if it had been built by then. Thankfully, we still won the war, and that ship was not a necessity for us winning the war. But if we needed to get somewhere urgently, and what if it happened again, the U.S. was intent on trying to build this waterway that we could use. And so in 1902, the French sold their rights to the US to build the waterway, and they employed over 40,000 people to build it. Mostly, most of the people were from the Navy. And I actually have my great-grandfather was in the Navy at the time, and he was stationed at the Panama Canal and helped dig that. And my grandmother, my dad's mom, was born in Panama at the Navy hospital. And so, and she's actually gets teased a little bit about that because she has red hair. And if you know people from Panama, none of them have red hair. And so she's known as, they teased her about being the only redheaded Panamanian. So, but that's just a little bit of my history that falls in line with this. But in 1914, the Panama Canal was opened, and all nations that were not at war with the United States were allowed to use it. But the U.S. had the right to control it and to protect the canal. It cost us over $300 million to build this. It was a lot of work. They had to dig it out, mostly by hand, and they had to hold the water back so that it wasn't flowing in while they're digging, and then they had to let that go through. But now we have this canal that can be used by many countries. And so the U.S. Owned it for many years, and in 1978, Panama had been asking for us to give them back the canal, and the U.S. gave ownership. We signed a treaty and to give it back to Panama in the year 2000. And so we would still defend the canal in case of war or trouble, but by giving the canal back to this country, other countries might be tempted to invade them and then gain control of the canal. So many of Americans believe that we should have kept it, but it's over, and it's already been given back. Over 13,000 ships use the Panama Canal each year, and there's a toll in order to go through the canal. It takes about 8 hours to travel through the Panama Canal, and but it's quite a shortcut, and it does seem expensive, about $5,000 depending on the size of the ship, to go through the canal. But if you think about the fact that they have to keep it repaired and operating, and the cost that it took to build it, and the fact that otherwise you would travel an extra 8,000 miles around the tip of South America, most people do not consider that a very high price. And if you're in the shipping business, you just consider that in your cost of shipping. And so it is, the Panama Canal is one of the greatest American building achievements in the 20th century. And so we get to be a part of that as Americans, and that's something that we can take pride in. So let me just ask a couple questions based on what we've just gone over, and then I'll let you get to reading this. What is a man-made waterway called? It's a canal, okay? Where did the French first attempt to build a canal? Okay, it's the Isthmus of Panama, right where the magnet is. And what country finished building the canal? The United States, of course. And then in Panama, the U.S. gave the ownership of the Panama Canal to what country? We gave it back to Panama. All right. We do have 2 more lessons, and then there is a test. So the test will be scheduled for next Wednesday. So go ahead and make sure that you are ready for that. The next lesson we'll go over this people worth knowing more about, and then I will start review, and then we will have another lesson of review, and then there will be the test. So make sure that you go back and read pages 200 to 202, and that you learn a lot from that. Before I let you go, we are going to look at the states and capitals, because those will be another thing that you need to know. Okay, and there is a state song that I want to sing, and so I'm going to sing it through once, and then the second time, if you know it, you can sing it with me, and the second time I go through it, then try to sing it with me, okay? Sorry about that. I paused the video to grab my phone, and I'm going to play the YouTube video while I sing it, okay? I was young, I studied U.S. geography. The teacher said, would you stand up and list the states for me? My knees began unlocking, my words fell out all wrong. Then suddenly I burst out with this silly little song. Alabama and Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, and Connecticut, and more. Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, what's so far to go? Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, and good old Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, and Montana. Nebraska's 27, number 28's Nevada. New Jersey and New Mexico, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, and Wichita, almost through Washington, West Virginia, too. Some people, last one, or is it 49? Well, Wyoming is the last one in 50 states that rhyme. When I sat down all out of breath, the teacher said, that's great. I'm quite impressed you were the best in listing all the states. But if you want to get an A for that silly little rhyme, sit back up and sing the song, we'll do it double time. Alabama and Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, and Connecticut, and more. Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, more and more. Let's have to go. Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, and good old Michigan, Minnesota, and Montana. Rest of 27, 28, Nevada. New Jersey, and way down New Mexico. Tennessee, Texas, and there's Utah, and then goes through. And then it's 52. The last one, or is it 59? I think it's the last one. 50 states at rhyme. All right. That was a little rough with that one. I'll have to practice that one, and we'll try that one again. But want to make sure that you know the capitals too. So we're going to go one time through the states and capitals. So we say capital first and then state. Montgomery, Alabama. Juneau, Alaska. Phoenix, Arizona. Little Rock, Arkansas. Sacramento, California. Denver, Colorado. Hartford, Connecticut. Dover, Delaware. Tallahassee, Florida. Atlanta, Georgia. Honolulu, Hawaii. Boise, Idaho. Springfield, Illinois. Indianapolis, Indiana. Des Moines, Iowa. Topeka, Kansas. Frankfort, Kentucky. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Augusta, Maine. Annapolis, Maryland. Boston, Massachusetts. Lansing, Michigan. St. Paul, Minnesota. Jackson, Mississippi, Jefferson City, Missouri, Helena, Montana, Lincoln, Nebraska, Carson City, Nevada, Concord, New Hampshire, Trenton, New Jersey, Santa Fe, New Mexico, Albany, New York, Raleigh, North Carolina, Bismarck, North Dakota, Columbus, Ohio, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Salem, Oregon, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Providence, Rhode Island, Columbia, South Carolina, Pierre, South Dakota, Nashville, Tennessee, Austin, Texas, Salt Lake City, Utah, Montpelier, Vermont, Richmond, Virginia, Olympia, Washington, Charleston, West Virginia, Madison, Wisconsin, and Cheyenne, Wyoming. All right, so make sure that you read your pages and that you are ready for our review next time.